Hey, I
Right.
recognize you.
Yeah. Long time no see.
I know the face. I just
Yeah.
can't put a name to it.
It
Oh,
was last
Gary.
year. It was last year.
It was, yeah.
The
And I don't
student.
think I said see you next year, did I? But here we are, 2026, and we spoke to
Yeah.
Stephen, didn't we?
We did.
Um,
Stephen Sonsino.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Last year in December, and for one reason or another, we found it a little bit of a struggle to get back into our stride here on the Positive Echo
Yeah.
podcast. So welcome back. Thank you
Mm.
for being here. Thank you for watching. If you're seeing this in another time and place, Gary, how have you been?
I have been very well. And as I don't know whether I ever told you that each year I take on a new challenge in life. Sometimes it's sporting, sometimes it's publishing a memoir. And this year, having spent the last year writing poetry, I've started doing poetry open mic sessions.
Really?
And I'm on my third one. I just did the third one last night in front of about 70 hardcore poets.
No
And
way.
it's going really well. I'm enjoying it.
Amazing. And what have previous outings been?
I set myself the task of paddling 1,000 miles in one calendar year, and I ended up doing 1,200 in 8 months.
Incredible.
And publishing a memoir and then following year.
Yeah.
And every year I do something. Sometimes it's outlandish, sometimes it's not.
Right. Now, I could probably talk to you an hour about how it is that you get to do that, why you're doing that, and what it was like to stand up in front of what is really a lot of people's worst nightmare, isn't it? But maybe we'll come back to that towards the end of our discussion today or another time, because I would love to hear about that. We've got Jada waiting for us. How did you meet Jada?
Digitally, through Substack. It's like one of those things. I cannot remember exactly how it went, but I invited her, as I do with quite a few people, to have one of her historic posts on Substack. I feature people, and we got to chatting, and then when we started thinking about podcast guests, I thought, yeah, her story is brilliant. And it resonates with so many people. We have to have her on. So there you go.
So should we bring her on and have a chat with her?
I think we should.
Your first round of applause this year for a Positive Echo guest. It's Jada, everyone, the Midlife Nomad. Oh, let me just do that in a different way. That's better. And we'll pop you in the middle there, Jada. Yeah. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you here.
Thank you. I'm already impressed, Gary. I didn't know these things about you. So I want to know more about what you're doing. So that sounds incredible. And Carl doesn't know this, but I actually started watching Carl before we ever even started this adventure of becoming nomads in Portugal. And I remembered you, Carl, because you were always the one with the rooster. My husband would say, let's watch Carl. I'm like, wait, is that the guy with the rooster?
Guy.
On Good Morning Portugal, I think is the name. So
yes, yeah, that's right. Well, thank you for agreeing to do this. That being the case,
of course.
you still come and joined us here, despite that.
I have to tell you, Jada, Carl and I actually agreed to do this podcast before we ever met.
Really?
And we met in Portugal.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow. It's a small world.
Well, it's a lovely Portugal connection here.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So let's kick off. I mentioned, before we came on air that I think rather than do the historical CV kind of thing, your origin story at the beginning, we will come to it, I'm sure. But you're the midlife nomad. So where are you at the moment? What's life like for you? And what are the good things? And maybe some of the, more frustrating things. And we'll sit and listen.
Sure. Well, my husband and I are currently in Madeira, Portugal. And we have been here for just over a year. And we started this whole process of selling everything, leaving the US, and starting this grand adventure. We have 6 kids, and the last one was like in college and almost ready to graduate. And, we just looked at each other and were like, we got to do something big. And not it was really that. It's just we actually sat down and did a values assessment, and we realized that travel and adventure were in our top two. And my husband and I are both triathletes, and we come from Ironman world, and we're just really active people. So the whole idea, Madeira, we spent a month in Porto, a month in the Algarve, and then a month in Madeira when we were trying to decide where in Portugal. So that's how we landed in Madeira, or Madeira. If I'm in Portuguese classes now, so I'm trying to learn how to say everything differently. But when we came here, it really just ticked all the boxes of this beauty, and we could spend most of the days outside doing the things we love, swimming in the ocean. And Gary, you mentioned biking. We brought a suitcase and our road bikes, and so we're cyclists as well. And that lifestyle, just really appealed to us. So yeah, I called myself the Midlife Nomad, and I started this whole Substack just to document the journey. I thought, well, I don't want to forget what we're doing, because every day was throwing something new at me, and I had to adjust. And so, the frustrating part is, not surprisingly, the bureaucracy, waiting for appointments for residency cards. And, I'm on a digital nomad visa. So, it's a little bit different than a lot of our friends who are on the D7, which are the retirement visas. So, we're not quite ready to give up working, and, we both own our own companies, so we can do this. And so, yeah, it's kind of really circuitous to answer your question, Gary. We landed in Madeira for the lifestyle and the people and the food and the festivals. There's so many things about Portugal that are just awesome. And I started the Midlife Nomad, and mostly I just came up with a name that I thought, those two words, because midlife is such a complex and often confusing and time for both men and women. But really that post-menopausal, time in a woman's life can be really, really tumultuous. And then this whole idea of nomad being just, we have no idea where this adventure is going to go. So we know that we're going to just keep traveling it in some way. That is yet to be determined.
Oh, thank you very much for that. There's a few things that kind of trigger in my mind simply from the midlife nomad. People who are traditionally nomads, they're seasonally on the move.
Right.
So how many moves have you actually made so far?
So and that is a good distinction, because at first we thought we were going to be traveling a lot more, but to the bureaucracy point, is that my husband is still waiting for the family reunification appointment. And so we literally can't travel right now. And so we're stuck in paradise, right? Don't feel bad for me. Right. And so that's the tricky part, is that we actually thought we were going to be traveling a lot more, but it ends up just the way that it is we have to stay put right now. So that nomad is kind of morphing into more like this, we're not living in, we're still living in furnished spaces. We intend to, travel as much as we can. It'll probably just be within Portugal now until we get all the, the appointments settled and the residency card secured. Then we can really travel more, which is the whole idea. It's just, we're kind of grounded right now with the bureaucracy.
But it's a wonderful base once you're all set up with the logistics.
It is. And that was the other thought we had, is, this would always be our base, and that we would, potentially just circle back and just keep coming back to this place, which is a little bit different. You're right, in the traditional nomad in its purest sense, in that you never have a home base. You're always moving. And so we watched several YouTubers when we were first deciding to do this. And there are some people who travel constantly. They're always moving. And in part, some of those people too don't have like visas. They go in and out of the Schengen area. They, 3 months here, 3 months back. So that lends itself to a little bit more of that true nomadic style. There are some limitations, though, with the digital nomad visa that we just simply didn't know.
And I also get the feeling that some people leave their country of origin out of frustration, or, as we know currently, they might not have so much of a choice. But I get with you two, it's more about what you might call questing, looking for something interesting that's other than the thing you already know. Am I reasonably close?
I think so. That's a great word, actually. And what started the whole process was, again, this values assessment that my husband and I did, which actually came from a retirement show that we watch. And it was, just aligning yourself with your partner, mostly about finances. And so, but with that comes this idea of what do you truly value, and aligning your second half of life, your, retirement, pre-retirement life. Like, what does that look like? Everyone says you retire to something, not from something. So it was this idea of, my husband always calls it, there was a hole in the fence and we jumped, meaning all of our kids were pretty much launching into the world, right? They were starting their young lives and getting their own apartments. And, at this point, nobody's married, no grandkids. And it was like, we looked at each other, we had filled out this values assessment. We were like, gosh, like adventure and travel are at the top. We may not ever get this chance again. Like, we're in good health. We want to travel more. And so we had visited Portugal just on a vacation, and just really fell in love with Portugal. And so we thought, well, this will be a good place to just jump to. And so that started this whole idea of, well, if we're going to do it, my husband said, we had just visited Portugal and we saw the Monument of Discoveries and all the, these brave sailors, getting in ships and going across the ocean. And although Cortez is Spanish, he said, we're going to have to burn the ships. And I'm like, what do you mean burn the ships? And he's like, no, like if we do this, like we got to just leave everything behind. Like, because if we know we can come back, we're not going to commit. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think you're right, but I don't want that to be the case in some ways, and this really hits upon where a lot of people struggle is, how do I get rid of all my stuff? And luckily for us, we had these beautiful 6 kids that were starting their young lives and needed furniture, they needed stuff. And we were like, you know what? Come, take it all, take whatever you want. And in some respects, I've lost both of my parents, and I have gone through the process of cleaning out their stuff. And it's really awful. And you feel guilty, and you don't know what to do with things that meant something to them, but it doesn't really to you. Like, what do you do with that sweatshirt or that flower pot? Like, there's certain things that you just feel guilty and you just keep and you store, but you don't ever process them. You just tuck them away and ignore them, and and then you pass that burden on to someone else.
Yes.
And so it was an opportunity for us to do what I think is necessary to speak to your questing, is that you have to be able to walk away from it all. And that is where a lot of people get stuck. And I as a therapist, I understand that. And I had to do my own processing through lots of it. But we also had kids that could take some of those things. So when we go visit them, we see our stuff.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
My mum died 2 years ago, and I've just used up one bit of her my inheritance, and that was the 150 black rolls of garbage bags that she had squirreled away.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah, so
that's quite the inheritance.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite valuable in the end, and there was lots and lots of other things before them. But
wow, yeah, that's hard. And
no,
go ahead.
Go on. I was going to say to Carl, I've spoken a lot, and you've been sitting there very quietly. And you're also somebody who has been, or is a nomad, who's moved from the UK to Portugal. So how many of the things that Jada has said create questions in you?
So many questions and ideas and prompts there, Jaden. The thing about the second half of your life, the thing about kids, family, possessions, what you do with those, what happens when you get old. You didn't say that specifically, I don't think, but there's an inevitability about that, isn't there?
Yeah,
and
there is.
And also that when you were talking about the lifestyle of a 3-month in a country person, I thought, oh my God, that sounds so exhausting. And I can see how exciting it might be, but I had this terrible sense of not having a base, which surprised me because I thought I was quite nomadic essentially and quite adventurous, and that wouldn't bother me. But I suddenly went, with that being the case for some people who are like proper nomadic, they don't really have a base. They have places they can go, I'm guessing, family homes perhaps,
right.
And all of this is challenging our way of thinking about life, isn't it? Because a lot of these things you're talking about and are challenging are just conditioning. They're not givens necessarily, are they? They're not biological imperatives or natural laws or anything. This is just the way we've been doing things for a couple of 100 years perhaps, and got into a certain pattern in our civilization and our culture. And you're pushing at that a little bit in how that might be revisited and re-seen. So in all of that, I'm really fascinated by this second half of life idea, which is, I think, what you said, and how people presumably do say to you, because they've said it to us, you're so brave doing this. And I want to know what you think about that. Do you think of yourself as brave? And what encouragement do you give to people who are a little bit marginal about it? Like, oh, I'd love to, but I don't think I can. What would you say to them? So in the first instance, do you think you're brave in the way that people presumably tell you are?
I think I'm brave, but I'll say that I feel like I've done brave things in my life prior to this that were somewhat forced. And so you learn how to be brave. And that comes from just having to do difficult things in your life. And, I think when you do hard things, you learn that you can do hard things.
Yes.
And I think that, to your point, Carl, we do adopt a set of conditions that we just accept. And, the idea that I think my last post was about this. It was about this settled life that we were supposed to settle at the end. We slow down, we gather our things around us and we protect them. And, that's the narrative that that's what my grandparents did. That's what my parents did. Like they settled down and that they didn't move, from that spot. That was home. And even when you were, my parents had their own homes, but when we went home, we went to their family's home, right? Like that sense of home has a lot of meaning for a lot of people, and it should. Like it's a very meaningful word. But I think that I don't know if it's more common now to start pushing against some of those standard norms, but I think that there's a lot of people who find themselves wanting to do something like this. Like, I wish I could just burn it down and walk away, right? Like there's this sense that you really just want to kind of start over. And I do kind of refer to midlife, even, retirement as the second adolescence. It's like we get this renewed passion in life. For me, being a parent, it's almost like I can almost kind of like, okay, I did it. Like they're full grown adults. They're walking, talking, supporting themselves. Like it's almost like there was this big sigh of, okay, I that's not primary in my life right now. I'm not raising children any longer, right? Like it's almost like, not that it's done because it's never done, but that everyday task of raising children is no longer front and center.
Yeah.
And so what rose up are my own hidden, buried, maybe not ignored, but pushed to the side passions, interests, loves, questions, desires, all these things that start bubbling back up to the surface now that you have time. Yeah. And I think that that's where a lot of people, maybe as they're considering, especially like this, I'm 55. So I'm in that, I'm not ready to retire. I'm still able to work. I want to, I love my job. And so there's this in-between stage where you're not ready to slow down. They call these the go-go years, right? And so now's the time to go. And I think we watched all these retirement shows, and these people were like, if you can work maybe a little bit less, if you can travel more, like now's the time, go, because these are the go years. And then then it's the slow go, and then it's the no go, and it's like, whoa, hang on, I'm not ready for that.
I've never heard of that before. So these are the three stages of retirement: the go, slow go, and the no go.
Right. So I'm like, well, I'm not ready for like bucket number 2 and 3. So I'm gonna, if this is like the cat's meow time to go do all these things, then we better hurry up and get to it.
and that lovely opportunity you had, you saw the things lining up, the hole in the fence that your husband referenced or came up with. That's such a good idea, isn't it? It's like, let's jump now or we won't. And so you did that. Okay, so I think we can say you're brave. And those others who are saying, I wish I was, and looking for some extra encouragement for pushing the go button. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say, obviously not everyone wants to do what we're doing, right? Like it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I do think that it's good to do something similar where you have a chat with yourself or a chat with, someone you love, a partner, or whoever, and you just say, what do I value the most in life? Like it kind of like that old adage of, if you could do anything, if $1 million landed in your lap, what would you do? Right? Like if you could really just boil it down to, what do I really want to be something memorable in my life? And again, raising children is one of those things for me. And it felt like not that you're done, but it felt like that chapter had kind of turned the page. And so I guess I would say, and again, as a therapist, it would be to trust yourself that, and I write about this too. Like, how do you listen to your intuition? How do you trust yourself? Because that's really part of it, is just trusting that this isn't the craziest decision you ever made. And I think because I've done not crazy things, but I guess brave things before, when I was 22, I just graduated from college and I moved all the way across, from Georgia to Minnesota, with a truck. And I was like, there's a job up there. I'm going to go take it. My dad was like, what? And, and I'm like, and he said, well, you got a good head on your shoulder, right? Oh gosh, that's another story. I burned an engine one time, not knowing that I had to check the oil. I was like, I don't know why the car doesn't run. He's like, when's the last time you checked the oil? I'm like, what are you talking about?
What's oil? Yeah.
Anyway, so it's like, and he said to me, well, he called me his pet name, and he said, the road goes both ways. And so I always believe that, like, what's the worst that can happen? You get out there and you hate it. Okay, you come back. So
that's so lovely, Jada. The road goes both ways. What a lovely parental perspective and support.
Yeah, occasionally our parents come out with some genius.
Right.
Yeah, who knew?
So, and I felt like my dad gave me wings, and he trusted me. And so, then it was to trust myself. And, once you do a hard thing, and again, this is like a therapy thing too. It's like, once people do things that they don't think they can, and they find out that they actually just did that thing, it gives them reinforcement and encouragement to try something different. And for me, sometimes it's hard to do big things like trust yourself, like on a big decision. So I usually tell people to start small, trust yourself on something little, start with something small. And I often, because I'm also like a personal trainer and a coach, plus an athlete, like all my life, I like to have people start with something like with their body, because that's a little bit easier than something like with your mind or your life. It's like, just set a goal of, okay, I want to walk, 5,000 steps a day, let's say, whatever. And then you do it. Or let's just say 1,000 steps a day. Let's start really small. Like I want to walk 1,000 miles every day, or 1,000 steps. 1,000 miles will be a lot, every day for 2 weeks, whatever. Set yourself a physical goal, and then you do it, and you're like, whoa, I didn't know I could do that. When I was training for the Ironman in my very first marathon, I had just run 3 miles is the most I had ever run. And I remember I pulled up next to my neighbor. I didn't know him. I had just moved into this town, and I saw he was running out in the morning like I was, and I was driving my minivan, and I stopped and I said, hi, I'm Jada. I live down the street. Are you a runner? And he was like, yes. And I'm like, you want to do a marathon? He goes, I don't know you. And and he said, I've only run 4 miles in my life. I said, well, I've only run 3, but here's the thing. I'm turning 35 this year, and I need a goal, and I need a partner. So will you run this with me? And he was like, where do you live? Down the street, last house on the left. And he was like, okay. And so literally, that's just kind of my personality. And so I met him the next morning. I said, you want to meet? I know you run early. And so I'm like, you want to meet at 5 a.m.? And we started running, and he became one of my best friends. And we ended up doing a marathon together. And then he went on to do lots more marathons. And but it's things like that. Like, you have a goal. Like, I'm going to turn 35. I want something to chase after. And so the very first time I ran 4 miles, I was like, oh my gosh, I ran 4 miles. Mm-hmm. And then the next week I ran 5, and then 6, and then 7. And then all of a sudden you're a runner and you're running a marathon. And so everything is like that in life. If you just break it down into a small little baby bite that doesn't feel so overwhelming, then you do that. And then you find success in that. And then you take another little bite. And so, you don't have to just take and eat the elephant all at one time, right? You just take a look at one small change you want to make, or one small goal you have, and just set a course for just daily kind of chipping away at it. And then that's when you get the courage to trust yourself with bigger things.
Yeah.
It's really well said.
The other thing that came to mind was I can't remember. Forgive me. The name of the test, the assessment that you did. What did you describe?
It was just called a values assessment. Like, it's yeah. So I have one that I use. I think I've put it in one of my posts. But it's really just. And you can even Google this, I think there's 20 or 30. There can be small amount or lots of values, and you just kind of. You do it individually. So what my husband and I did is we circled our top 10 separately, and then we ranked our top 5 from that. So we went, big list, smaller list, top 5 separately. And then we shared them with each other. And it so happened that in our top 5, we had the same top 3. And it was adventure, freedom, and I don't remember the third one, but we looked at each other.
Yeah.
What's that? Could have been travel.
Travel, yeah.
Could have been. And so because we hadn't traveled, because we had just been head down raising our kids and, putting them all through school for decades, that, we finally came up for air and we're like, whoa, like, hi, you want to go somewhere fun? And so it was this, it showed us what we valued at that point in our life. Again, you do this when you're 20 or you're 30, you're 40, it's probably going to be different. But this is now we're in midlife, we're in we're working a little bit less, part retired-ish, just, a little more selective with the time that we spend working. Mm-hmm. And so that's when we took these values and we were like, but does this align with our life? And we realized that it really didn't. And so that's when we decided, okay, well, how would we redesign? And I use that term a lot, life design or life redesign. And that's really where you just kind of take the snow globe and give it a shake and go, okay, what can this look like? If we really wanted to design a life based on what we value, what would that look like? And so that's when we decided to just, and I'm also kind of like a spiritual person in that I said to the universe, I'm like, all right, look, I know this sounds crazy, but, if this is what we're supposed to do, then it needs to be green light all the way. Like doors need to open, things need to just align. It needs to be very clear that this is what we need to do. And that's what happened.
Something came to mind with that. Thank you for that. It's like the Pina Colada song, when, but not going to that extent of putting a small ad to try and find. Do you remember? Do you know the Pina Colada song?
You're going to have to sing me a few bars.
I gladly. Where's my guitar? No. The basic idea of the song is a guy is a little sort of jaded in his life, and he puts a small ad in the paper. If you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain, if you're not into yoga, if you're into champagne. Rupert Holmes, I think his name is.
Yeah, I know the song, but
yeah, and that's the idea is, or the lovely spoiler alert. But I think most people who do know the song will know this.
Yeah,
is that the person he advertises for turns out it's his own lovely lady. I think is the lyric. And then he sings, "I didn't know you like pina coladas and getting caught in the rain."
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's just struck me that the reason why some people might not do the assessment or speak to their partner about and the significant others about what they want to do later in life, in midlife, or for the rest of their life is because they fear it might not be the same. But I guess.
Right.
It's still useful to have the conversation, isn't it? Because it's still there. It's still inside you. It still perhaps wants expression. Mm-hmm. And if it isn't, other consequences or implications can occur. And sorry, Gary, I've jumped in a couple of times. I know you want to ask more questions, but what would you say about that? About the fear of because what we're talking about here, mm-hmm. and you're a great example of two people, you and your husband, are doing. You figured out what you wanted to do and you've done it, and that's what I think makes you brave. And conversely, for people who think, my God, if I do what I really want to do, that's going to be so disruptive to my life. I want to do it, but I can't think how that's going to happen or how much disruption that's going to cause in my life. What's the message to those people? Because you're a therapist, and I'm guessing you've got a good answer for that.
Well, I don't know if I have a good answer. I will tell you that other people have commented like, "Oh, lucky you," right? Like you've got someone that wants to do it, and there's no way my husband or my wife or my partner, my whatever, would do this with me. They're too attached to their X, Y, or Z. They, are a hoarder. There's no way they could get rid of their things. Like there's lots of people who, you're right. They don't have that they are on different pages with the things that they want and the things that they, desire from life. And that can be really, really tricky, because those difficult conversations can highlight that fracture. They can highlight that you're on different pages. Now what? I've said it out loud. I want to go do this thing, and you clearly don't. But those can also be really good discussions for saying, okay, well, these are things that I really want to do in my life. I need support, so that I'm going to find a way to do it that honors me. And I want you to do the things that honor you. How can we do that? So those can also be really great discussions on, a little give and take. Like, how can I do the things that I love without disrupting your life, and vice versa. And so, but those can be really meaningful and difficult conversations, Yeah, for sure.
And I get the feeling it's worse in a way, or it could be, to not do it. And it's like ripping a plaster off, isn't it? Or, like fessing up to something is often much better than we feared it might be. That's not to say it still isn't difficult or challenging, but I suspect it might be better to have the conversation rather than not, if that's burning inside you.
Yeah, and if for sure, like, and if it is burning inside you, then we do a disservice if we don't honor some or all of that, right? Like, it's really, we have one life, and the older I get, the more I sort of cling to that. I want to create some really good stories.
A positive echo, even.
A positive echo.
Yes.
There we are.
Yeah.
So I've been listening very carefully and looking at your title again and again and again. Not everyone is able to make a geographical nomadic movement.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder whether we can take the theme and the concept of that and have a non-geographical midlife nomadic move. I'll give you a personal example. And at the age of 56, I walked away from a 30-odd year academic career. I just left. I didn't leave anybody in the lurch, but like you with your furniture, I left all my unpublished research. I walked away to become an executive coach, but I didn't change my geography. I am still in the same house, but it felt like I was moving like a
yeah.
And then I did the same thing after closing my executive coaching business and moved to be a writer. So I think we can maybe reassure people that you can be nomadic conceptually, but you don't have to move 5,000 miles. What do you think?
Absolutely. And again, my last post, I talk about this. I talk about being nomadic in your life by simply designing it in a way that speaks to you. And again, not everyone wants to do this sort of, rip the bandage off, jump into the, the water and sink or swim, with this big adventure that we're on. But absolutely, there's, and I try to speak to that because people can make those shifts. They can make those, whether it's midlife, and, I kind of talk about this whole midlife crisis is, that's a misnomer. It's a midlife awakening. It's a chance for rebirth in many ways. And that can be on so many levels. That can be personal, it can be professional, that can be geographic, but it really is this idea of awakening to your own moving, flowing desires. And that's going to change throughout the course of your life. And the idea is to be able to honor it, to be able to, with courage, take those jumps into different careers, relationships, whether you change houses or whether you change careers or whether you change the continent. it's the idea that you are listening to the flow, right? And things are gonna, we're not static. Life's not static. And the things that excite us at age 50 may be very different than what we feel drawn to at 60 and beyond. So the idea is that we are honoring that dynamic nature of what speaks to us at different times. And we're not afraid to listen to it. We're not afraid to cut ties of something that's no longer serving or toxic or not aligned. And we move to the next thing. I think that's the nomadic message, is that, you know, I may be, and I talk about this too. It's surprising to me because I made a post about this, or a note or something, I don't remember, but it was like, I thought that when I was going to be traveling the world, what I would be most excited about were the things that I was seeing, the beautiful places that I was seeing. But what I'm discovering was that it was the internal landscape of my own heart is what is exciting the most and what is changing the most. And that's the message, you know, is that it's not, you know, you don't have to, you know, live in furnished apartments to have the experience of what it is to honor and align yourself with what truly you love. And that's the nomadic piece of it, is that it's really a metaphor. And it really is how we all can be nomadic in our spirit, in our lives, in that you honor the different things that speak to your soul at different points in your life.
Yeah, it was one of my father's moments of genius. He was a quiet guy, but very, very compassionate. And he said to me once, you know, this life is not a rehearsal. And every time I get stuck in something, I go, okay, this isn't a rehearsal. What's the main event? And it got me thinking, I think it was like the end of last year, Carl, we talked about retirement. And if we viewed the first 65 years of our life as training for the job, which is retirement, which job would we apply for? So you begin to create, you do the same things as when you're looking for jobs in your earlier life. Okay, what is the job of my retirement going to be? Is it grandparent, great grandparent, and throw yourself into that? Is it to be a writer? Is it to get your paints out? But plan it, not exactly down to the last minute, but at least have some purpose, because that's what keeps you alive and healthily alive. Oh, make sure you walk at least 5,000 steps a day.
Yes. No, I agree. Absolutely. And I'm really, it's really important to me working with the community of people who've moved to Portugal. We've got a new sort of orientation of 50 plus. And my hidden agenda with that is exactly what you're talking about, Gary, is for people to think about this, as you know, Jada put it, the second half, you know, from a midlife point of view. But I think that there comes a time when you think about the last third or the final act. You know, there are different expressions for it, but it generally refers to retirement and thereafter. And one of the most sort of difficult things I've seen is how quickly people come to see that the kind of pastel de nata gin and tonic thing wears off really quickly. And it's like, in a way that there's go, slow go, and no go. It's like, what next, and what now? You know, what's what is what you need to know. Like what now? When you get there and you've had that, you know, the sun is past the yard done, and we'll have our favorite drink on the terrace. That wears off. As beautiful as that is, and I'm not knocking it in any way, it doesn't provide some sort of sustainable long-term, you know, I call it peak pastel de nata as well. It's like now what's next? To have that conversation, if only with yourself, is really useful, because not having any purpose and something to live for and get up for is quite a challenge for people, because it's, you know, on the one hand you're thinking this is going to go so quickly, and it does, but also without purpose it drags, and it's like, what's the point in the purpose here? And it's definitely a conversation having. I don't know if you've got a view on that.
Me or Gary?
Yeah, Yeah, you
I've got lots
absolutely.
of views on everything.
Yes.
Well, yeah, and you to speak to, that life's not a rehearsal. Like, one of the impetuses of us doing this was we had a few friends who passed away in their 40s, and it just really shook us because we have this imagined sense that we're going to live forever, right? Like, we don't think that it can be taken away at any time. Like, we don't live our lives that way. We live our lives thinking, okay, well, when I'm 70, blah blah blah, or when I'm whatever, right? Like, we don't ever think that the rug could be pulled out from under us. And so I think that when we had friends that passed away, it really put this fire in our bellies of, like, life is short and there are no guarantees. And if there are things that we really want to do, then we can't wait for someday. We can't wait for everything to be perfect, because it never will. We can't wait for the stars to align. We have to go make our own, waves and just see what happens. And I think that it can be difficult when you think about what is that second half going to look like, or what is retirement going to look like. And to your point, we have to have passions. We have to have meaning. We have to have something that matters to us. We have to have something that pulls us out of the bed every day, and it has to be something. And the older we get, from a therapist developmental standpoint, like, we have to give back to the world. We have to have really purposeful and meaningful endeavors. Yeah. And that can take on a variety of different forms. But I think the older we get, we really have to ask ourselves, how am I giving to the world, and how am I giving to myself? But pull the lens way back and be able to understand that, life can just suddenly take a turn, and you don't want to take things, moments, sunsets for granted.
Yeah, very, very good. Thank you very much for that.
Carl, might I at this point remind the audience who have not heard this before, the reason there is the thing called the positive echo, and you may or may not have read it in my Substack. So my quiet genius of a father, 2 weeks before he died of a particularly unpleasant form of cancer, drew his family one-to-one together to have conversations. And during that conversation, he said this to me. He said, "Gary, who do you want to come to your funeral? And what was it you did for them that would make them want to come? If you're already dead, you can't do anything. So when is it I'm going to do this thing for somebody? Well, it has to be this moment, doesn't it?" And out of that came the positive echo. So it's to your point, it's, yes, you can be active and do stuff in your post-midlife years, but if it isn't actually aimed at doing something for someone else as well as yourself, you can't maintain it. It becomes that boring gin and tonic on the patio.
I feel bad about singling that out as an example.
Setting me up, it's great. So please use that, or any form of it that you care to manipulate it into. But it's, can I leave a job? Can I leave a conversation? Can I leave a podcast? Can I leave this world having left other people in a better place? And usually it's helping them find the best version of themselves. And as a therapist, that's what you do all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'd love to sneak in a little question, if I may, about that. Alfie, hi, and say hi and thanks to people who've been here tonight, especially you, Jada. Alfie, hi. Thank you for becoming a member. looks a live. Oh, look, a live chat when I'm awake in Massachusetts. That's Alan, who says also, if you're a good I think this is good person, right? If you're a good person, your echo will last forever. Pretty much euphemistically reflecting what you've said there. I think going back to stuff, huge garage sale recommended. Presumably that's what Barak did before also joining us here in Portugal. Good evening, all. 3 Ps in a pod. Love to you this evening. And this is where you can find Jada's work, jada.substack.com. And wow, simply wow from Celia. Thank you, Celia. We'll take that.
Yeah,
Thank you
that's
very
a
much.
win.
Retirement, a time to enjoy all the things you didn't have time to do when you worked. Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely one way of looking at it. And the therapist thing. So that is how you've managed to continue to work and sort of have this lifestyle that you have. Is you are presumably an online therapist, coach, and inspiration to people. Can people, as well as subscribing to your Substack, can people find out more about the work you do and connect with you that way, Jada?
Oh, sure, yeah. And I have my website, which I'm just going to say I actually used AI to design myself a few weeks ago because I had one that was too big and it was not really what I do anymore. And I was like, I think I can do this. Speaking of doing hard things, right? And so, yeah, on my Substack, it links to like a website, and I have some tools and resources. I have a book that I created a couple years ago. It's really more like a journal. It's a year-long guided journal, and it's called the 52-week guide to building the life of your dreams. And it kind of takes the holistic psychiatry principle, because I'm a PA too. I'm a PA and therapist. And so my day job is I have my own practice. And so I do online, therapy and medication management. And so I created this actually during COVID because people were just really struggling to have resources and tools. And so I created that to kind of help people along. So yes, on my website as well. But so having my own business allowed me to pivot like this. And I realized that, obviously not everyone has that either. But that was one of the things that I jumped off the cliff and started my own practice when I had 3 kids in college at the same time, which was really, really not the smartest of things that anyone should ever do. But it worked. And so, the time was then. I felt like I needed to pivot, and I did for lots of reasons. And so, so I built my practice kind of in person. And then when the world sort of changed with COVID and a lot of people started working from home, I just took that as a cue to kind of take my practice. More and more people wanted it. More and more people just asked for telehealth. And so it just eventually, over the course of 2 years, turned into all telehealth. So then I was like, all right, well, if I can do this anywhere, then that's one more reason to burn the ships and go on a big adventure.
Well done. Yeah. And I thought you were mentioning the kind of the Viking sentiment of, burning the ship so you can't go home when you've got there. I've always had that as a Viking thing, and that was definitely our approach here. In fact, the camper van we came in broke down. It was the modern equivalent of burning the longboat because we couldn't drive home. There's your website, integratedhealthandwellness.org. Russ says Jada is awesome. We agree. Thanks, Russ, for being here. Retire and move to Portugal. I promised I didn't ask Barak to say this, but I completely agree. Retire and move to Portugal. And Celia also adding, as well as her wow, I really enjoyed this. Gratitude. Thank you. Gratitude. Right back at you. Igualmente there, Celia. Thank you for joining us this evening. Jada, thank you so much. We have a little bit of an extra resource at the end, don't we, Gary? Which I think we're going to mention. But Jada, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate your time, input, and inspiration.
Thank you both. I really enjoyed it. Thank you both so much.
Okay, well, we'll give you a round of applause there, and we'll say bye for now. I'll see you soon. Take care. All the best to you. Ciao, ciao.
Oh, Jada.
Right, Gary.
Wow.
And now for something completely different. But yeah, I mean, wow, absolutely. As Celia said, they're great to talk with Jada, who is awesome.
You got the link, have you, that I sent you?
I do. We've got NEP.
Yes.
What is Nep? It's an interesting name. Why have
Nep
they
is
called
a place in Kent,
right?
if I remember correctly.
Oh, it's a name of a place, right? Okay.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
Nep Farm. And the reason I selected this as our positive echo out there in the world is 20 years ago, this was a derelict farm on poor ground. And the new owners decided to go do something completely different. And what they've done is over those 20 years, they've rewilded the place. They've changed it completely. They've made some of it wetland. They've introduced pigs, not wild pigs, but certainly old style pigs. The bird life,
old style pigs, yeah.
There's horses where there were never horses running free. The bird life has increased 900%.
Well done. Well done, you guys. It looks beautiful, doesn't
it? And the reason I mentioned it seems like, is Gary asking us to try and do this? No.
Are you?
No, what I'm saying is there will be people who do this kind of thing who then need people to help them. Maybe initially as volunteers, but also now as salaried staff. They run a butchery, they run a restaurant. And it means that you can, in your own way, contribute to something which is sustaining wildlife in an area which was just barren. It was horrible. So Nep, go to the site and be inspired and see if there's something like this nearby. It might not be a farm rewilding. It might be an urban project. And just do a little thing. And you will then be passing your positive echo on to the communal effort. I remember we had Jessica Friday on months and months ago about community economies. This is the answer to, largely, the drain of money into the hands of a small percentage of people. Just ignore them. Do something.
See what you did there. Very good.
Just get
absolutely beautiful. Look at it. And when I first sort of clapped eyes on this, I thought, where is it? Is this in America somewhere? This vast space. It's in Kent, isn't it? One of the home counties of London. Incredible. So amazing people. And they started this 26 years ago. Just goes to show you what you can do with a little bit of inspiration and foresight, isn't it? In 26 years, they've created this. Which
you get intimidated by the enormity of what you see today. They started off in tiny footsteps.
Yeah. Have you been there? Or did you just find someone?
It was featured we have these spring watch and autumn watch nature programs, and I'm sure it was featured for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the wild deer and now old English style cattle, you name it. But because of the changes, the other natural wildlife is thriving and thriving. It can only be great.
Yeah. It's lovely, isn't it? Look, it's absolutely beautiful. And in the way that we looked at being a nomad in all its different ways and as a metaphor, the rewilding is a key word here, isn't it? And I think rewilding doesn't necessarily mean buying some land and rewilding it. You can do this to yourself as well, can't you? You can rewild your consciousness as well.
Yeah. And it means that they did this with a set of values like Jada. They decided why, they decided the purpose, they built a plan. They knew it might not work, but they still went for it. And they went step by step by step. I mean, I'm itching to go there and find out more.
It's lovely. I'm trying to find out from Hugh, who's here as well, how many hectares it is. I don't know if you saw that in your
is it something like that?
Oh, 3,500 acres. 3,500 acres. Is that 3.5 hectares? What is that in hectares?
Hectares a bit bigger than an acre, if I remember right. It's about bigger.
Well, there you go. There's the answer to your question, Hugh, which I'm sure you can do a conversion, an old money conversion on that, or decimalization, as it were. Thank you, Hugh. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight, and especially Jada. Who's joining us next, Gary?
If I remember correct, it is a lady called Jane Moffat.
And that'll be in a couple of weeks' time.
Yeah, 25th.
Okay.
And her tag is about retirement. I think it's retirement, now what?
Yes. Well, I've got an unexpected item in the bagging area. And I'm sure he won't mind me calling him this, but Mike Brodie of OurNet, whose project I've run past you, he might join us next Wednesday if you're up for that, Gary. But that's a possible a bonus, an added bonus
session.
next Wednesday.
You might need to do that one on your own, because
okay, fair enough.
Running my Scribblers writing group.
Oh, fantastic! What? So yeah, just very quickly, what was it like to write your poem and say it in front of a room full of other poets? That sounds like a hard crowd to please to me.
You know how shy I am.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I do like my own voice, and I enjoy public speaking. And I'd tried my poems out in the Ditton Scribblers, as we call ourselves, and got very positive feedback in my writing script. And so I knew I was onto a semi-winner. And yeah, it's been taken very positively. Some of it's whimsical, some of it's really quite dark. Hey, that's the way my mind works.
Gary and his quite dark poetry. Don't put that on the flyer. Okay. Right. Gary, cheers. Great to be back. We'll see you in a couple of weeks with you, Gary, and we'll sneak in an added bonus positive echo with Mike Brodie as a Portugal special, as our Portuguese spin-off. Thanks again to Jada. Thanks to all of you for being here. Take care and bye for now.